Hey, old man. Nobody needs you playing handyman here. Get lost. The angry voice snapped across the town square, drawing a few snickers from the crowd. The old soldier, bent with age but steady as a rock, didn't reply. He just straightened the battered flagpole, tied the frayed rope, and raised the torn stars and stripes high into the wind. They thought no one important noticed, but up on the balcony a decorated general watched and began making a call that would change everything. If you believe some heroes fix more than just broken poles, comment respect below. The town square buzzed with weekend traffic and vendors. Laughter rose and fell like waves against the brick buildings that had stood for generations. Balloons bobbed in the breeze. Laughter and chatter filled the air. Children darted between legs of distracted adults, their joy infectious and wild. Near the center, a forgotten flagpole leaned awkwardly, rope frayed, flag half-tangled. Once proud, now neglected, a silent metaphor no one seemed to notice. The old soldier shuffled toward, a toolbox in hand, each step measured, deliberate as if marching to drums. Only he could hear. His faded jacket bore patches from wars most had forgotten. Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, history worn on cloth. No one asked him to fix it. The town had grown comfortable with the flagpole's slow surrender to time. No one noticed him at first. Saturday crowds flowed around him like water around stone. He knelt down, hands steady despite the creaks in his knees. Dignity and service undiminished by age. Group of teenagers watched, snickering. Designer clothes, expensive phones, ignorance, more expensive still. What's he doing fixing history? One jeered. His friends laughed as if he'd said something profound. Others laughed, pulling out their phones to record modern reflex, document, mockery, share contempt. A local shopkeeper frowned but said nothing. Disapproval without intervention. The common courage of our time. The old man didn't even glance up, focus honed by decades of discipline. He pulled a wrench from his belt and tightened the bolts. Metal groaned against metal resistance, yielding to persistence. A rusty squeal echoed as he realigned the base. Years of neglect fought against his stubborn care. Sweat beaded on his forehead, his back straining. Pain registered but wasn't surrendered to. A bystander shook his head and muttered, "Old fools and their flags." Cynicism dressed as wisdom offered to anyone within earshot. The rope snapped loudly as he tested it. One more thing broken, one more thing to fix. The teenagers burst into laughter. One pointed another, recorded all of them, missing the lesson unfolding before them. One even mock saluted him sarcastically. His friends doubled over, delighted by the clever cruelty. Still the old soldier worked. Hands that had once carried weapons now carried tools. Still the old soldier cared. Heart that had survived war now battled indifference. No medals, no audience, no recognition beyond ridicule. Just one man, one flag and one silent promise. Made decades ago in blood and honor. The sun climbed higher, heating the metal pole. The old soldier wiped his brow with a handkerchief, worn soft by years. "Hey Grandpa," called another youth. "The war's over, you can stop now." More laughter, sharp as broken glass. The old man simply reached into his toolbox for a length of new rope. Some things were worth continuing, even when no one understood why. The mocking grew louder. Words like stones thrown casually at a target presumed too weak to matter. A vendor joked, "Maybe he thinks he's saving the country again." His customers laughed while buying ice cream and souvenirs. Customers laughed, sipping coffee and taking pictures. The spectacle of earnestness had become entertainment. The old man rubbed his palms on his jeans, gripping the frayed rope, calloused hands marked by labor and time. He untangled the flag carefully, lifting it from the dirt, reverence in each movement, treating cloth like sacred text. A gust of wind flapped it against his chest, the faded stars brushing his heart. For a moment he paused, eyes closed briefly. One teenager mimed falling asleep from boredom, pretending to snore loudly. His friends recorded this performance, already thinking of clever captions. A mother hustled her kids away, embarrassed. "Don't stare," she whispered, teaching avoidance rather than respect. No one offered to help, not the strong young men leaning against nearby walls. No one offered a kind word, not the veterans who recognized his jacket, but kept their distance. The flagpole rattled dangerously as he hauled it upright and alone. Metal scraped concrete, threatening to slip from his grip. Dust swirled in the air, sunlight bouncing off the metal. The world sparkled indifferently around his struggle. The old soldier winced, but kept working silent. Pain registered in the tightening around his eyes, but never reached his voice. High above, unseen by the crowd, a figure stood at the balcony of City Hall, watching with growing intensity. A general decorated in full dress uniform watched from the shadows, his chest adorned with ribbons similar to those on the old man's faded jacket. His jaw tightened as he witnessed the scene. Recognition dawned, then respect, then determination. He pulled out his phone, thumb moving quickly, simple words delivered with unmistakable authority. In the square, the old man finished tying the rope. Double knots secure and faithful would hold against coming storms. He stood back, chest heaving slightly, and saluted the flag, now flying proudly, form perfect, despite the year's muscle memory intact. The laughter died a little as he held the salute longer than anyone expected. Something in his stance silenced even the most callous observers. A rumble grew in the distance, engines powerful and purposeful, approaching in formation. First one Humvee rolling in, dust rising beneath military-grade tires, then another and another after that. A convoy of military vehicles surrounded the square within minutes. Precision movements, deliberate positioning. Soldiers stepped out sharply, forming ranks without a word. Boots striking pavement in unison, a drumbeat of discipline. The mocking teenagers froze, phones lowered slightly, uncertainty replacing arrogance. Vendors fell silent, coffee cups paused midway to lips. The townspeople watched, jaws slapped. Weekend entertainment transformed into something they couldn't quite comprehend. From the balcony, the general descended the steps with calm authority. Each step measured shoulders, squared purpose evident in every movement. He walked straight toward the flagpole, toward the old soldier still standing there. His path never wavered, his eyes never left the man who'd done what the town had neglected. Whispers spread through the crowd like fire. Who is he? What's happening? Is this some kind of ceremony? The teenagers who had mocked the old man now backed away slowly. Laughter forgotten, replaced by the instinctive recognition of authority. The town mayor emerged from City Hall confused and trying to catch up. This wasn't on his schedule, wasn't part of his plan. A police officer stepped forward, then thought better of aid. Some processions commanded their own authority. The general's medals caught the sunlight as he approached. Bronze stars, silver oak leaves, ribbons telling stories of battles most civilians would never understand. The old soldier noticed the approaching formation and straightened slightly, old habits emerging like forgotten languages. For a moment, their eyes met across the square. Recognition passed between them, not of faces, but of brotherhood. The crowd parted unconsciously, creating a path. Deep instincts responding to the gravity of the moment. If you believe quiet actions echo louder than words, comment, stand tall below. The general halted 3 feet from the old man. Perfect distance, formal but respectful. He snapped a crisp salute, holding it firmly. Textbook form offered from one soldier to another. Soldiers behind him followed in perfect unison. The sound of hands meeting foreheads cracked through the square like muted thunder. The teenagers who had mocked earlier stood awkwardly looking at their shoes. Shame found its target unerringly. Cameras that once filmed mockery now filmed reverence. The story changed in an instant. Social media posts quickly deleted. The general lowered his salute and spoke loudly enough for the whole square. His voice carried with the practiced authority of command. Today a soldier did what many forgot to do. He stood up for something greater than himself. Simple words that fell like judgment on those who had laughed. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Recognition dawning slowly, uncomfortably. Sergeant First Class Calvin Rourke, the general continued, awarded Silver Star for valor in Vietnam and still serving today without being asked. The old man blinked in surprise, mouth opening slightly. Recognition was never his goal, never his expectation. The general stepped forward and shook his hand firmly. Warrior to warrior, no words needed. Soldiers brought out a new flag, pristine and folded in a ceremonial triangle. White gloves handled it with practiced reverence. They handed it to the old soldier with solemn respect. The weight of it in his hands made his eyes glisten briefly. A city official stumbled onto the scene, trying to look important. His suit expensive, his understanding of the moment impoverished. The general ignored him. Some ceremonies transcend official channels. He pinned a medal, the town's highest civilian honor, onto the old man's jacket. The contrast between shining new metal and faded cloth told its own story. The once mocking crowd now clapped softly, then louder until the square thundered with applause. Shame transformed to participation, witnesses becoming supporters. Children waved small flags they bought from vendors minutes ago, innocence recognizing honor before cynicism could take root. The teenagers who laughed were now volunteering to repaint the square's monuments. Redemption sought through action, not words. TV crews rushed in covering the event live. Breaking news banners crawled across screens throughout the region. Across the town, stores hung honor those who served. Marketing and sincerity mingled in equal measure. The old man said little, just a small smile, a nod, and a hand raised to the brim of his worn cap. Words had never been his weapon of choice. Real heroes, after all, didn't need parades. They needed only conviction and the courage to act upon it. They only needed a flag and a reason to stand. Everything else was detail, unimportant to the mission. The general spoke again, addressing the crowd directly. This man fought for a nation where mockery is protected speech, but he also fought for a nation where respect is a virtue. Phones recorded every word, now sharing for different reasons. What had been entertainment now became education. Freedom without responsibility becomes merely selfishness. The general continued. Today a silent lesson was taught by actions, not words. The mayor finally found his voice, promising improvements to all veteran services in town. Political instinct catching up to moral necessity. Business owners approached, offering free meals, services, discounts. Generosity born from uncomfortable reflection. The old soldier accepted none of it. His work completed, his duty discharged. He simply stood at attention as the new flag rose, catching the afternoon sun and snapping proudly in the wind. The teenagers who had mocked him approached cautiously. Apologies stumbled from uncertain lips. Sergeant Rourke nodded once. Acceptance offered freely. Forgiveness given without being earned. One more gift to a world that hadn't asked for it. A young boy no more than 7 broke from his mother's grasp and ran to the old soldier's side, his small hand raised in an imperfect but earnest salute. Rourke returned it gravely as if saluting a general. Dignity shared, his dignity multiplied. The square's flagpole was repaired fully by the weekend, not by contractors but by volunteers. Young hands learning from older ones, skills transferred across generations. A plaque was installed at the base for those who still stand when others sit. Simple words for a complex truth. Every year now on Memorial Day, the town holds a small, quiet ceremony around that flag. No politicians jockeying for position, no speeches designed to win votes, no loud speech, just silent recognition of prices paid by strangers, no fireworks. The thunder of battle had been enough for those being honored, just hands over hearts and flags, snapping in the breeze. Simplicity carrying meaning deeper than spectacle ever could. Sergeant Calvin Rourke never sought attention after that day. Fame held no appeal to a man who had seen the true cost of headlines. He still walked the square each morning, boots scuffing in the pavement, routine and discipline carrying him through peacetime as they had through war. Sometimes young kids would run up offering shy salutes, awkward little hands learning the language of respect. He always returned them with a smile and a crisp salute back. Each child treated with the dignity of a fellow soldier. The flag he saved flew a little higher after, the colors brighter against skies that had witnessed the best and worst of humanity. And so did the spirit of a town that almost forgot what true service looked like. Small changes rippled outward. Veterans invited to schools, monuments cleaned regularly, history preserved. The teenagers who had mocked him became the square's unofficial guardians. Their redemption found in weekly service, washing the memorial stones, raising and lowering the flag with newfound reverence. The general returned each year, not in uniform but as a citizen, standing shoulder to shoulder with Rourke, few words needed between them. The mayor established a scholarship in Rourke's name, ordered to students who demonstrated service above self, future investments in forgotten value. Tourists sometimes asked about the old soldier who could often be found near the flagpole. Rourke would simply smile and point them toward the Veterans Center. Instead, true strength doesn't come from titles or medals. It rises from conviction tested by fire, from principles held when convenient and when costly. It comes from quiet hands willing to lift a broken pole and carry a nation's memory back to its rightful place. Hands that bear the weight history entrust to those sturdy enough to carry it, for flags may fade and poles may bend, But honor once witnessed cannot be forgotten. It stands sentinel in human hearts, waiting for the moment when it must rise once more. Subscribe to Steel Heart Stories if you believe some flags are raised by hands stronger than time.